Hardcore Euros fixtures, Dark Horses Anonymous, and a day-by-day run-through of the first set of group games of Euro 2024. All that and more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Betting Expert Football Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Jenkins, joined as ever by Betting Expert's football editor and international superstar, Sam Ingram. How you doing, Sam?
I don't know about that, but yeah, I'm right, Dan. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, hay fever is killing me at the moment, but we move. It's fine. It's Euros. I'll just put a tissue up my nose and watch 51 matches of football in the next month.
You'll be fine.
I'll be fine. So I'm surprised. Have you zoomed out the camera just so we can get your head in after your famous appearances on the Action Network podcast over the last couple of weeks?
yeah, a little bit. No, it's been great, to be honest. We did like a futures podcast, what they call it over there, and then did also another pod on the first round of games. So it's been good. They're two great blokes, and the podcast has come out pretty well. So yeah, if you've not come across it, it's called the Wondergoal podcast, Action Network. So give it a listen. It's quite good, and they're covering every single round of the Euros. So yeah, well worth a follow. Yeah,
fully agree. It's a really good show. I enjoyed it a lot more than I was probably expecting to. It's quite jarring hearing your accent next to a couple of American accents. You suddenly sound very South Country.
that feels a bit harsh, to be honest. But
mine would be just the same, mate.
I totally get what you're saying.
So last week's episode, bit of a different one. Obviously got up to London, met up with Mikel Silvestre on the eve of the Champions League final. Had a really good chat with him.
Yeah, it was nice, wasn't it? He's a good bloke.
He's a really good bloke and very insightful, full of knowledge, and I think it really hit home for us just before, as we were prepping the questions, where we realized that this guy had played at the absolute peak of the game.
Yeah.
Reading out those lineups for England versus France at Euro 2004, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, was it? He was in a back four with Thuram, Desailly, I think.
Desailly was there.
And one other, and Zidane, Henry, etc. were knocking about
Makaleli, Trezeguet.
Yeah, I mean the list goes on. So like when you pair that up with, obviously he was at United and Arsenal as well.
Won the Champions League, won 5 Premier Leagues, which he was quick to correct me on.
Yeah, just a wealth of experience, and he's a really good bloke as well. And if you've not heard it, it's worth a listen, especially ahead of the Euros. But we also spoke about Premier League next season and Liga too. So yeah, worth a listen.
Yeah, fully agree. Really good chat, and should stay pretty relevant for the next couple of months, as you say, coming into the next Premier League season as well. Had a couple of bets settle for you as the final England squad was announced. It feels like a while since we've done one of these, but yeah, you had a couple of punts on some players getting into the England squad. Jared Branthwaite didn't quite make it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that felt like a killer, that, especially hearing that Maguire's out for injury. As soon as I heard that, I thought, he's nailed on. Branthwaite's going to be in there. And Southgate decides not to take him, which I was surprised.
Feels like a mistake. Feels like a bit of a mistake. Like Southgate was complaining after the Iceland game about players lacking fitness. They don't feel like they're fully fit, especially in defence. And that's because most of the players he's got as defenders in the squad have been injured. They've just come back. They barely played. Like John Stones really hasn't played much for Manchester City this season.
Gahey's been injured. I didn't think he'd be involved at all this summer because he was out for so long with injury. Obviously, he's come back with Palace and he's looked all right. But yeah, he's been injured. And Branthwaite, I think him and Tarkowski, behind the Arsenal lads, they've racked up the most clean sheets in the Premier League this season. So he's been a mainstay at the back for Everton. And I just thought he's got enough about his game. I think he'd really suit international football. And I'm just shocked he's not in there, even if it's for a level of experience, because I assume that he's going to be right there for a number of years in the England squad. So I just thought he'd be in there. So that's annoying. And that was 3.25 for him to make the squad. So that was the bigger punt of the two we had settled.
Unfortunate. Ivan Toney was the other one that came in at 2.1 odds, full unit on each. So slight profit on the 2 punts. So
yeah, we'll take it. I suppose that was maybe half of my thinking of getting a Tony type selection in there. So that, if one of them landed, if one of them got on the plane, then we make a tiny bit of profit and we can just move on. But yeah, a little bit frustrated. We've not hit both really, but it's what it is.
Unfortunate. So this is the first of our Euros specials. Now, usually we do one podcast a week, but over the next month, we're going to be up in that. The players are playing more, so it's only fair that we should put in more effort, if anything, and jump on a podcast mic for an hour and chat about football.
Feels like the right thing to do. Yeah.
It's our duty, if anything. So what we're going to do, we're not going to go game by game. We're going to go day by day. So we're going to just go through the first rounds of group fixtures and then record another episode next week, ready for the second round of fixtures, which start on Wednesday. So, Sam, day one, let's get into it. Germany versus Scotland, Group A, late game, opening match of the Euros. How are you feeling?
Yeah, so 8 o'clock on Friday, I'm feeling like everyone else, just eager for it to get started. Like I've been bogged down in rummaging through the outright markets for what feels like 6 months or so, just trying to pick out a bit of value here and there. I'm just eager for the first game to kick off. And we've got hosts, obviously, Germany versus Scotland on Friday. For the host, Germany, the world's eyes are on you. You're in your own backyard. Expectation levels ramp right up. And there's talk now of a legitimate run to the final and potential silverware, given their impressive warm-up friendlies, players in form. They've got a shiny new manager and obviously host advantage too. That can't be nice. There will be some nervous players in that German dressing room, and equally for Scotland, a side who not many will give a chance to on Friday. There will equally be some nervous faces in there too. And I don't think Scotland will get battered, but they should fall short here. Germany are 1.28 favourites, so that's not really a big call from me. What I do expect, regardless of end result, is for things to open up a bit in the second half. The first half of the game of a major tournament may take a little while to get going. So what I've landed on here for my selection is second half most goals at 2.05 on Bet365. I've looked into the opening fixtures at the European Championships back to the year 2000. 4 years ago, Italy beat Turkey 3-0, and all 3 goals came after the halftime whistle. Before that, France 2-1 versus Romania. Both of Giroud's and Payet's goals came either side of a Romanian penalty in the second half. So this is a good start. Poland 1-1 against Greece. That saw a goal in either half. The Swiss lost 1-0 against the Czech Republic in 2008. That was a 71st minute Czech goal. Greece beat Portugal 2-1 on their run to silverware in 2004. A late Ronaldo goal ticked off the second half most goals bet there. And in the year 2000, Belgium beat Sweden 2-1, and a Belgian strike on the 43rd minute, and then 2 goals in the second half also ticked off the second half most goals bet. So going off recent Euros history, we don't often see a glut of goals in the first half, and it makes sense why we don't. This is lost once dating back to the millennium. I think that was that Poland 1-1 against Greece. So that's once from 6 matches, and only 3 out of the 16 goals in the opening stages of the Euro Championship openers were scored in the first half. So at 2.05 odds against, it feels like a pretty shrewd way into the first game of the tournament, I think, Dan.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, you didn't want to go for either of the teams. I thought that handicap line, Scotland plus 1.5, looks a little bit generous. Maybe first game nerves.
Yeah, I do agree. No, I do agree with that. Because like we said, if it is going to pan out the way I've kind of pictured it there, if the first half is maybe going to end 0-0 or there's not too many goals, then that 1.5 advantage, if we get to half time at 0-0, for example, that will be looking really good. So yeah, I wouldn't put anyone off that. But it is Germany v Scotland, and I think Germany are out to cause, maybe out to put a marker down. So I'd be a little bit concerned and maybe about siding with Scotland, but that would be the way I'd go after this bet, I think.
Yeah, okay, I like it. And fully agree. I think it's quite similar in the World Cup, isn't it? I mean, other than 2022, I think, was it Ecuador, wasn't it, against Qatar in that first game?
Yes.
I think they won 2-0, got a couple of goals early on, but I remember things opened up in 2018 with Russia. Things opened up at Brazil 2014 as well. So, yeah, quite similar. I think first game jitters in front of your home fans.
It makes perfect sense, doesn't it? Like, these lads are going to be, they've all played, well, not all of them, but many of them will have played in the highest level, Champions League, crunch Premier League ties. So that they've been there and done it. But I think it's a bit different when you've been waiting months and years. Like, qualification was a while ago. You've been waiting a long time to get here. It's finally here. You're in a packed stadium. Like I said, the world's eyes are on you. Television cameras from all over the world, and it's crunch time. So if it takes 20-30 minutes to get into the game, then you wouldn't be too surprised.
Yeah, going to be a few anxious Germany fans watching that first game, and a few anxious fans on this podcast, because we both picked Germany to go all the way and win it. On to day 2, Saturday, June 15th, and starting off, early game, Hungary versus Switzerland. What have you got for on this one, Sam?
Yeah, I've actually gone for exactly the same bet, but don't think that we're going to go through every single game and I've just picked second half most goals.
2.75 goals, Sam.
Yeah, this is the last second half most goals bet, I promise. This is at 2.10, so just a little bit more generous than what we were getting in the Germany game. Hungary versus Switzerland, yeah, for me, these two are really quite evenly matched. So that 0.25 Asian on Hungary, that price made its way into my thinking because of how evenly matched I think they are, and given the head start that gives them, that kind of that made it onto my shortlist. But yeah, so Hungary, this side they've proved they could mix it with the big boys in the last 2 or so years leading up to the tournament. 4-0 at Wembley against England. It's impressive, obviously. 1-0 in Hungary also against England, and they also beat Germany 1-0 too in Germany. You've got Szoboszlai as their main man. He's been involved in more goals than any other Hungary player in the qualifying campaign. 4 goals, 3 assists, so 7 goal contributions. He also topped their charts for chances created, shots attempted, shots on target, successful passes in the opposition half, expected goals and expected assists. So he is all over this Hungary team. Everything runs through him. If Switzerland can keep him quiet, then they might be all right. And they have the players to do so. If you're looking at the likes of Akanji, Shah, Xhaka, all Premier League experienced, and Xhaka just had like the season of his life in the Bundesliga. And also they've got the likes of Okafor and Shaqiri in forward areas. I know Shaqiri's getting on a little bit, but he'll still be a threat, I'm sure. If you're having Germany as group winners here, which I am, then these two sides are likely playing for second and third in the group. So added to the nervous energy around beginning a major tournament in your country's colours, there's also a sense of maybe a must not lose to this encounter before a ball's even kicked. So the most goals second half option at Bet365, it ticks a few boxes if you think similarly to me. There might be maybe half hour of sparring or so between the sides, no one wanting to make a mistake to kick off the tournament. So that similar, I don't want to go over ground, but similarly, that might mean things open up more in the second half, and there'll be more goal scoring opportunities after the interval. And for me, Dan, yeah, it just feels a bit more palatable back in something like this at 2.10 than it does siding with either Hungary or Switzerland, because not only is the draw a live runner, but it's a very tough opening match to call. The selection in question might only need 1 goal if it's as cagey as it could be in the opening 45 minutes. So yeah, at 2.10, I'm going for second half most goals again, I think.
Okay. It's good. It's quite an interesting game. These sides haven't played each other since 2017. And it feels like we've seen a lot of Switzerland in major tournaments over the past couple of years.
Loads.
Same team, same shirt. It feels like they got the same kit every year, same manager, same playing style, and usually the same end result where they get through the round of 16 and then get knocked out, get dumped out. I'm quite bored of it personally. So it's going to be nice to see Hungary. They're coming in, brand new team, some exciting players, quietly effective. Yeah, going to be interesting. I think for the bet, it depends on which team you think is going to be in the ascendancy. So I had a look in qualifying, and Hungary's first halves averaged 1.87 goals. Their second halves averaged just 1 goal. whereas Switzerland's went from 1.1 goals in the first half to 2.2 second half goals. So maybe by that logic, if that follows through into the competition proper, then maybe you're expecting Switzerland to control the match a little bit more and to impose their style on Hungary.
Yeah, I would say so. That's probably how I see it. I reckon Switzerland will have more of the ball, probably more of the chances, and then Hungary will look to maybe outdo them in transition and make the most of set pieces. But yeah, I think Swiss to take maybe the advantage in the early stages, but hopefully we don't get a goal for at least half hour or so, and this gets close.
Yeah. So Sam's going for second half most goals in Hungary versus Switzerland at 2.1. Next game of the day on the Saturday, Spain versus Croatia, one of the standout fixtures of the first round. Don't know why this isn't a late game, mind you, but yeah, going to be a good one. It's the fourth time in 4 tournaments that this fixture has come out. Spain won 1-0 on their way to the title back in 2012. Croatia won 2016 in the groups, and Spain won at 5-3 after extra time back at Euro 2020. Really good game. I remember that one. How do you see this one going, Sam?
Yeah, that was a brilliant game. It was the highest scoring game in the tournament this century and the second highest overall. So that had tongues wagging a little bit. 3 years have passed since then. Croatia's midfield is one which has probably been the hallmark of their success on the international stage over the years. But it's aging. Modric is 37 now. Brozovic is in Saudi Arabia, which isn't the hallmark of a central midfielder at the top of his game. And I personally think Kovacic is great, especially receiving the ball, keeping hold of it, breaking the press. But he's not first choice at City, and he's just started 16 matches this season. Maybe that means he'll be fresh. Who knows? It's hard to say, really. And they come up against one of the best midfields in the tournament for me on the opening day. Spain have a brilliant midfield. Rodri's one of the best in the world. Next to him be Pedri and Fabio and Ruiz. Unfortunately, Gavi's dealing with a longer term injury, so he's out. But I think that's a midfield that gets the better of Croatia's middle third. And there's enough for me to get excited about Spain this summer after a pretty good showing at the World Cup. Not brilliant, but there's pace, youthful exuberance, and fearlessness, which I've said a few times now on these pods warming up for the Euros. That's what you need, that fearlessness and bravery to progress in a major tournament. And also they've got the likelihood that they'll keep hold of the ball, pull Croatia around the pitch, which is not what Modric or Brozovic will ideally want. Spain have had more possession than their opponents in their last 136 competitive matches, which is no real surprise, but it sounds like loads when you say it out loud. So I think that's how it'll play out. The Spanish will have the lion's share, and they might leave Croatia to feed on scraps. So 1.90, Dan, it's probably a fair price. I don't think there's too much value in it, but if I had to pick a bet, that's probably where I'd side, I think.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are quite down on Spain, especially in the UK, after Scotland beat them in March of last year, wasn't it? Since then, Spain went on an absolutely crazy run, didn't they? They won like 8 games in a row or something. They're coming in pretty good shape, I think, into this tournament and are flying under the radar a little bit. On Croatia for this match, just on this match, Croatia, we did the research for our betting guide, which is still available for a free download on bettingexpert.com.
Nice.
And we did the research. And Croatia, I mean, they were just giant killers, haven't they? If you go back and look at every single European Championship since 2000, there is a 23.6% ROI for backing Croatia to win every single match. There's a plus 49.7% ROI for backing them to draw. They just don't lose. They've played some fantastic teams down the years in this competition and come out without losing. So to get them here with plus half a goal, and I know it's an older team, but I know the team's getting older, but the team was getting older 3 years ago. The team was getting older 2 years ago. Modric has been in his 30s for the past 4 major tournaments.
And to be fair, he's probably getting better, which is just crazy. I don't know what he asked for breakfast, but he is probably getting better or close to it. I know exactly what you're saying, Dan. It's just I kind of like this Spain team, and I think what they need, they're going to create a lot of chances. They've got a lot of the ball, so naturally they'll create more chances than their opponents usually. And what they need is Alvaro Morata to be firing and that could be a big ask for Alvaro Morata, but he's going to lead the line, and I think he's going to captain Spain, which is also questionable. Didn't really see him as like captain material, but he's got 15 goals from 13.78 XG in La Liga for Atletico Madrid this season. Decent return. He also scored 5 goals in 8 Champions League starts, so he's had a good, solid season. Spain needs him to be fit and firing. If he can rid the kind of shackles that often follows him around, then I think Spain can go far. So if Morata's firing, or if his deputy Joselu's firing, then I think Spain can go pretty far, and I think they've got enough to get over Croatia. But like I said, 1.90, maybe it feels about right. Maybe they should be a bit bigger. I don't think there's too much value in it, but I'd probably side with them.
Okay. Yeah, I like the squad. I mean, Nico Williams, Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo, they've just got a good squad, haven't they? Pedri as well. And Rodri in the middle, who is probably a better candidate for captain, in my opinion. Moving on to the final game of the day, Italy versus Albania. Sam?
Yeah, I mean, just saying that out loud, Italy versus Albania, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a...
Swap them around, come on.
One for the ages. So, Italy entered this tournament in an attempt to become the second team to win back-to-back Euro tournaments after Spain did in 2008, 2012. They are unfavored and very much an outsider in the list of competing nations that usually compete in the final stages of the competition. They're European champions, but they don't arrive in Germany with the same respect that England, France, Germany, and even Portugal do in the betting. They're in a difficult group. Spain and Croatia will fancy their chances of beating Italy. That makes this match here, of which they're big favourites, a monumental game for Luciano Spalletti in Italy. The former Napoli man, Italy's new manager, faces a tough task in getting his nation playing how he'd like. I think he's got no international major tournament experience to fall back on. He's a brilliant coach, but this is all unknown for him, so it'll be interesting to see how he adapts and how this unravels for Italy. In terms of personnel, they're missing Acerbi and Scalvini at the back. So they're light at the back in an unconvincing back 3 or 4. I'm not sure how he'll go. And I'm also not sure how he'll go up top. He's got Scamacca there, but he's only got 16 international caps and 1 goal. He's had a brilliant season, but he's not exactly an international level striker in terms of, previous history. And if you look at Albania, they're the favourites to score the fewest goals in Germany, which we probably should bear in mind when approaching their matches. If you couple that with Italy not exactly firing in the final third, and I think there's enough there to maybe lean towards an under selection. Italy, by the way, didn't concede more than 1 goal across their last 2 appearances at the Euros in 2016 and 21. That's a total of 6 goals conceded across their last 12 matches, which feels like the most Italian stat ever. And although Albania won their qualifying group in Group E, they did so by scoring 12 goals. So that was less than every single nation who finished either first or second in the other 9 qualification groups. So although they topped their group, although they scored 12 goals, it was still much less than everyone else. So I don't think this is a game that's going to be blessed with goals. And that's why the under 2.5 goal line looks right at about 1.90.
Yeah, I mean, it's an important distinction. We're not betting on the Premier League anymore. We're not going to be seeing an average of 3.27 goals per game as we saw in the Premier League last season.
Much different.
Most of the goal lines are at about 2.25. I think the highest for the first match day is at 2.75. So bookies aren't expecting it. And with this game in particular, looking back since 2000, Italy are the most unders team in Euros history. So 22 of their 31 matches at the European Championships since 2000 have gone under 2.5, 22 out of 31. Backing them with the unders, 1 unit in each would have returned a profit of 6.05 units. On the other hand, Albania averaged 2.0 total match goals in qualifying per game. So, unders all the way. Like it, 1.91. Happy with that. 1 unit on that, Sam?
Yeah, 1 unit on that.
Tidy.
It's probably worth saying, maybe we'll go through all the bets at the end and say what we're actually staking on. Because although I'm putting up a lot of fancies, I definitely won't be taking a bet in each game for the first round of fixtures. So probably just worth saying that.
Yeah, of course. So moving on to day 3, Sunday, June 16th. And we start off with Poland versus the Netherlands.
Yes. What's that noise for?
I'm not excited to watch Poland play a single match.
Not looking forward to it. No, neither am I, Dan. We spoke about this on the Outright show. We're not very hot on Poland at all, and since then there's been even more reason to doubt them. So I think we got on them at 8-1 for being the lowest scoring team in the competition. Since then, Milik has been ruled out of the tournament after picking up an injury against Ukraine. Then Robert Lewandowski, their main man, their main goal scoring threat, has picked up a niggle and is expected to miss this game with Netherlands, with reports coming out of Poland's camp that they're doing everything possible to make sure he's fit for Austria in game 2. And I don't know if you can read too much into the wording, but when a team says we're doing everything in our power to make them ready for a certain game, it kind of feels like he might miss that. I'm not a doctor and I don't really know if he's in contention, but maybe he's not for game 2. So that's worrying for Poland. He is their highest ever goal scorer at the Euros, scoring 5 of their 11 goals in the competition. He scored 4 of their last 5 goals at the tournament, including each of their last 3. So obviously a big miss. Also, Karol Swiderski of Hellas Verona, who played just off Lewandowski against Turkey in the final warm-up game, also went off. He got injured celebrating his goal in a friendly, which is hilarious. So he's rumoured to be out too. So they're now looking really, really light up top, alongside the fact that they looked a bit dry in forward areas as it was. They looked a little bit lightweight in terms of a goal scoring touch as it was. So now, for their opener against the Netherlands side, which is now somehow morphed into one of the best defensive setups in terms of individual quality that's on display in world football right now. Don't know how that's happened. It just seems like over the past 5 years, they've just blossomed into, well, if you look at the individuals they've got in their squad, Van Dijk, Ake, Van der Ven, De Ligt, De Vrij, Botman would be in there too, but he's injured. That's some talent pool at the back. And yeah, I'm not that hot on the Netherlands, Dan, to be honest. But there are no 3 points are up for grabs here, especially with the news coming out of Poland. At 1.55, I think they're criminally short, if I'm going to be honest. So I won't be taking that. But you can add under 5 goals into the selection in a bet builder on Bet365, and that can get you to 1.80. It was 1.9 something yesterday, but then it was confirmed that Lewandowski was out. Poland actually come out and said it. So then there was much more money that come in for Netherlands. So that's brought this price down a little bit. But I think at 1.80, like I said, I'm not interested in the Netherlands on the nose, but under 5 goals just makes sense if you think that Poland aren't going to cause too much trouble in forward areas. And I think if the Netherlands, say if they went 2-0 up, 2-1 up, I don't think they keep pushing and pushing and pushing into the final whistle. So yeah, I think 1.80 for that, it's not too bad.
No, you imagine they'd be happy if it is 1 or 2-0. They've obviously got France next week. So they're going to be, they want to keep a little bit left in the tank for that one, because that's probably going to be the group winner deciding match, isn't it? I was just looking at the odds for next week. So you can, I know it's off topic a little bit, but you can get above evens for Austria to beat Poland on Matchday too.
Yeah, I know
Quite
that
interesting.
That'll be on the podcast next week, I think.
That's gonna spoilers. Sorry.
You've ruined it already.
Sorry, mate. No point listening next week. So yeah, Poland as well. Low scoring team that was at 12s, not 8s, which you said. So even better.
Yeah, so it was on 12s elsewhere. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, good. Complete tangents for what you just said, but yeah, it's a good bet. I like it. Netherlands averaged 3.0 total match goals in qualifying in their games. I can't imagine it'll go above. And with one eye on that France game next week, yeah, as you say, if they get to 1 or 2-0 Netherlands, you're not expecting Poland to score 3.
Well,
they're not going.
That's the thing, Dan. That's why
back into the game.
That's why if you're not really too keen on taking maybe a -1 Asian, is what Netherlands is at now. Is why that under 5, under 6 goal addition in the bet builder may do yourself wonders in this tournament, because you've got to remember these teams, they're playing back to back. This is tournament football. They need to preserve energy. They may have games coming up that are much more important than racking up the goals in the final half hour. So definitely bear that in mind. It's probably a good way to play some of these games if, like me, you think a lot of the opening fixtures have a favourite which are a bit overpriced.
Yeah. Yeah. So game 2 on day 3, Sunday, June 16th, we've got Slovenia versus Denmark. And this is like, for me, obviously we've got the England game last, so this is kind of like when you have the news broadcast before match of the day, and like it's got the most viewers of any news broadcast because people are just waiting for match of the day. It's going to be one of those. But I have a feeling this might be a bit of a deceptively good game, Slovenia versus Denmark. Both teams averaged 2.90 total match goals in qualifying. Denmark have the highest returns for backing over 2.5 goals at the Euros since 2000. Do you know that? Plus 6.08 units from 16 matches, 38% ROI for going over 2.5 goals.
Out of every team.
That's
impressive.
Yep. It's not bad at all. But you look at the goal line, it's at 2.25, which I think may be a way in. And I know you're not betting on this game, and I know you don't let me bet.
Yeah, hey, look, you can bet if you really want.
2.25.
You're the boss. I'm not going to stand in your way. But I've only got a couple notes down, Dan, and I've got written down the goal line is probably where I'd go for this. Everything else looks to be priced about right, I think, Dan. Like the Danes are favourites, 1.75 feels about right. I wouldn't have them any shorter. And if you offer them any higher, I think people would snap your hand off. So the only thing holding me back is that I just don't like his personal preference. Again, I just don't like taking overs in these opening games. We know, we've already mentioned it, it's likely to be a cagey first half here and there across the games. It's hard to call, but it's probably going to happen. And unless there's an early goal, I feel that might hinder any shot at 3 or more goals in some of these games. It obviously happens, but I just feel like I'm on the back foot to begin with. So if I was going to take a bet, it would be the over 2.25 goal line. However, I'm not going to, but that's probably something, if you want a little bet, it's probably something to look at, I think.
The way I'm liking, I do get what you mean. As it's the first match of the group stage. The way I'm seeing it is Slovenia and Denmark are going to be looking at this as one they have to win. Obviously, with games against England to come, they're probably going to expect to lose both of those, and they may just come out swinging. And I think when you've got an Asian handicap line at 0.75 in favor of Denmark here, and a goal line of 2.25. I always find those a little bit odd when it's nearly a full goal swing, but they're not expecting more than 2.25 goals.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. I like the overs, but I do agree with you for the large part. But for this game, I think it's just a bit of a standout one. But
yeah,
no bet for you?
No bet for me, not on this one.
Okie doke. Let's move on to the final match of the weekend, Serbia versus England in the late game. What have you got? Anything?
I'm not betting on this game. As boring as that sounds. So England at 1.45 against, a handy looking Serbia side, but one that I've got absolutely no idea what we can expect from them. So like for me, that makes any goals based punts pretty difficult to get my head around. And it goes without saying that England at 1.45 in a major tournament opener is one to stay away from, I think. Some might like Serbia plus 1.25 on the Asians, and I get that. But again, we could easily see a controlled professional performance from England, similar to what they did to Iran at the World Cup in that opener, and maybe find an opening goal and then push on and capitalise on any extra space afforded to them by a Serbia team seeking an equaliser, which they will be if they fall behind. They've got the individual quality to do that. So yeah, I'm not really interested, Dan, in getting involved from a betting point of view, but I am very interested, like every other England fan, to see who starts in the middle next to Rice, to see who accompanies Harry Kane up that end of the pitch, and also to see who's alongside John Stones and how we go about our work after that Iceland friendly, which we probably shouldn't take too much from, but the fact that we managed one shot on target in that 90 minutes after trailing for so long, it's a bit of a concern. So yeah, I'm intrigued at how this first game's going to go, but in terms of putting my hard-earned somewhere, then I'll probably just swerve it.
Yeah, understand that. I think I was looking at the plus 1.25 for Serbia, but yeah, I agree. Last World Cup, it was the Iran game, wasn't it? And they just put them to the sword and got the job done quite early on, didn't they? It was quite an annoyingly professional performance from England. But
I think sorry, Dan, go on.
No, go on.
I was just going to say the main thing, Dan, like I touched on it there, it's just like you just don't know what you're going to get from this Serbia team. We saw it at the World Cup, like in glimpses, they looked unbelievable. And then for the rest of the time, they looked crap. And for the rest of the time, like they just looked kind of like as the game was bypassing them. So I really don't know how this is going to go. And I think for these first round of games, if you're just not sure about a nation or if you're just not sure about a game, then just sit it out, because rounds 2 and 3 in the group stages, they'll be much more easier to maybe gauge.
Yeah, I mean, I got that impression from speaking to people in Serbia when we were out there a couple of months ago. I've never seen such sort of night and day between different sets of fans. Some were unbelievably confident. Some were so down on their own team. It just made me think of Wales. Actually, it was quite a similar mentality. I think we're either the best or the absolute worst. On England, if you go back and look at England's record in their opening matches at European Championships, it's not great. So since 1968, the first Euros they were in, played 10, lost 4, drawn 5, won 1.
Right, okay.
Not great.
Yeah,
do you remember one win?
Well. No.
It was the last Euros. It was last Euros. That was the first time they'd won their opening game at a European Championships. Yeah.
Who's that against again?
Croatia at Wembley. Sterling scored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So we'll see. Before we move on to day 4, Sam, do you want to talk about the predictor we've got on site, which people can enter? I'm just throwing this at you unprompted, but we've on Betting Expert we've launched a free-to-play predictor game, which people can enter. I think you and I should enter it.
I will be entering it. Yeah. What do you want, a little competition?
I do.
All right. Let's do that. We'll do it all the way through the Euros. And yeah, if you've not seen it, I'll put it out on my socials and we'll get it on Betting Expert socials too. It can be found on the website. It's basically just predicting each and every game of each and every round of the tournament through to the knockouts, through to the final. And if you win, I think there are prizes on offer for the winners, and those right up there too.
Cash prizes. Unlike the one we did for the World Cup last time, which was a correct score prediction, which I didn't like as much. It's more like sort of Super 6 style prediction that was. But this one, a lot more betting focus. So you bet on the 1x2, you bet on BTTS, and you bet on over under 2.5 goals. And you get a certain number of points for getting each one right. And then you can enter leagues with your friends or just go for the overall win and try and win cash.
That's pretty cool. Are we allowed to win cash if we win?
We are not. No, we are not.
That's crap.
Not. Yeah, I know. Not entering now.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Not interesting.
That's crime. Moving on to day 4, Monday, June 17th. Romania versus Ukraine at 2 p.m. I mean, this is one for the hardcores, isn't it? The first early game back on a weekday.
Yeah.
Romania versus Ukraine.
Yeah, if you're watching this, fair play to you. I'll be watching.
Yeah, of course.
I'll be there with you in the trenches. So let's
glued to my television. Yeah. Shades of Japan versus Ivory Coast in 2014. Do you remember that 2 a.m. game?
Love it.
Amazing.
I was there.
So
this is the first ever competitive meeting between Romania and Ukraine. Unfortunately for Romania, it comes at the Euros where they don't have the best of records. They've got a 6% win ratio at the Euros, which is 1 win in 16 games. And that's the lowest of any side to have competed in more than one tournament. So not a great start if you're looking at the facts and figures, but that's by the by, I suppose, coming into this game. Although I can't say I fancy them to progress or have too much joy against the Ukraine, Dan. You've got, in terms of the selection, I'm picking Artem Dovbyk, anytime scorer, 2.87. Ukraine evens to get the win. That may turn out to look like a cracking price, but for me, right now, tournament opener, we're not fully sure on Ukraine. They had to come through qualifying stages and they needed 2 late goals to beat Bosnia and someone, maybe Iceland, to get it. So I'm not fully sold on them, but they do have a fairly decent attack. So, Artem Dovbyk, anytime scorer, it's a price that stands out. No one has scored more in the Spanish top flight than the Ukrainian this season. 24 goals in 32 starts. Scored a hat-trick in the final game to get the golden boot. Romania haven't had the best warm-up friendlies heading into the tournament, and we shouldn't pay too much attention to them, really. But when your last match was 0-0 against Liechtenstein, then we've got to bring it up on the pod, because that, like, we've spoken about Liechtenstein before, and I bet against them, it feels like every international break. They are one of the worst national sides on the planet, and especially in Europe. So that 0-0 in your final warm-up game for the Euros, that's not good enough against that Liechtenstein team, because they are awful. And also a 0-0 versus Bulgaria just before that. And if you look back even further in March, then a 1-1 draw against Northern Ireland has done no favours for morale, really. So for me, it's a below par Romanian outfit at this level against a Ukraine side who looks pretty handy in the final third, especially if you look at the individual quality on paper. You've got Dovbyk, Mudryk. And with Dovbyk leaving the line as the focal point, I've also just seen rumours this morning, Dan, of Atletico Madrid sniffing around for his services for about 40 million. So there's more than just helping this Ukraine side make their way through the tournament on Dovbyk's minds. It's also a competition to lock in a big money move to one of Europe's best clubs, and at 2.87, against a Romanian team, which you'd imagine they're going to sit in, be hard to beat before anything. I know it's cliche, but it's what the Romanians are likely going to come and do, and then take whatever set piece chances that come their way. For that kind of setup, with Ukraine to probably have more of the ball, and for Ukraine to maybe outdo the Romanians in terms of class and quality at that end of the pitch. And I just thought 2.87 was a pretty big price. So that's what I'll be going for.
Yeah, it is quite long. He's scored 12 in his last 12 in all competitions for all teams, Dovbyk. So he's coming in pretty good shape, isn't he?
It's not bad, is it?
It's not bad at all. It got as you said, got the hat trick on the last day in La Liga. My issue here is, it's going to be quite a testing game for the neutrals, I think. But as you said, Romania not very good in the 1x2 market. Ukraine are not very good in the 1x2 market. Statistically, these are two of the four worst teams to bet on in the 1x2 market at the Euros since the turn of the millennium. So not great. Of the 35 teams, these are 32nd and 33rd.
Okay.
Doesn't
fill you with
not feeling good,
does it?
It really doesn't. Opposing Ukraine in every single game would have brought in a profit of 8.71 units. Ukraine have lost the Asian handicap battle in 8 of their 11 matches at the Euros since 2000, with a plus 42.5% return on investment for opposing them. They're favourites for this game, and I know they're in good shape, and I know they've got some decent players, but if we're relying on Mikhailo Mudryk to show consistency in front of goal, to show composure in front of goal, I'm not feeling good about myself at all. And I don't know, Romania plus a half?
Maybe, Dan, but
with the Asian handicap line?
Maybe, but I wouldn't be going into the game with any real confidence, to be fair. And I should mention that this Dovbyk shout, I won't be betting it with my own money. So it was just a price that maybe stood out amongst markets and prices that really didn't stand out for me. So
okay, maybe smaller stakes for that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we'll see. Right, moving on to the middle game, Belgium versus Slovakia, and I got a feeling this might be a good one. Belgium averaged 3.25 total match goals in qualifying, which was one of the highest of the qualifying nations. 5 of Slovakia's previous 7 games at the Euros have gone over 2.5 goals. What do you think for this one, Sam?
So I don't like the thought of getting Belgium on side at anything close to 1.44, which they are right now. The minus 1.25 handicap isn't of real interest to me either. The over 2.75 goal line means we'd need 4 goals on an opening match of the tournament for full profits. Don't really like that either. So in the goal scorer market, again, we can get evens for Romelu Lukaku to score. So Lukaku is Belgium's top scorer at major tournaments with 11 goals in 22 matches. He was the top scorer in the qualification campaign with 14 goals in 8 games. He scored every 39 minutes on average in qualifying and converted almost half of his 29 shots. he's full favourite to be top goal scorer before a ball is kicked, then he's evens to score three goals or more at the tournament. So this is one of the games clearly where the bookmakers thinks he'll find the net. And I think he might just do that. So Slovakia finished second behind Portugal in qualifying, but only Portugal offered the type of competition of the same level of what Belgium will. They lost both matches against Portugal too, and they beat the rest, though. Their 7 winning games in Euro qualifying was their joint most ever in a qualifying group for a major tournament. So they did well in qualifying. They should rightfully be here, but this is a step up clearly. And I just fancy Lukaku over every other market in front of me, to be honest, to maybe nick a goal or two. Evens.
Evens. We remember Lukaku in the last major tournament, that Croatia game when he just needed to put the ball to the back of the net. And he couldn't. But since then, his goal record for Belgium has been unbelievable. He scored 17 goals. I think 17 goals for Belgium since then in something like 14, 15 games. He's in unbelievable form for his country. But I don't know, Lukaku, I've never felt like I can trust him in the biggest matches, and he knows everyone's going to be watching him after that Croatia game in this one.
Yeah,
2.0. It's a little short, but I do think this is going to be quite a high scoring game, which is why I don't mind the bet.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. But do you think we're going to get 4 or more goals to cover the goal line? It's a difficult one, isn't it? I don't think we might not quite get there. So then this is kind of where I've ended up, Dan. But yeah, in that Croatia game, it was literally felt like it was clearing balls off the line for Croatia.
It wasn't great.
It was terrible. But obviously under the new manager's come in. He's kind of full of he's in good form and a little bit similar to Dovbyk. Like, I like backing players who their domestic future is up in the air, or they're maybe out to prove a point and lock in their next move, because he is a Chelsea player, which seems a bit wild.
Somehow.
He is somehow still a Chelsea player, so I don't think he has a Chelsea future. So this tournament is massive for Lukaku. And if he is to bring his qualifying form into this tournament, then I'm sure he'll get a fairly decent move. So hopefully he can kick it off by getting a goal or two here.
Yeah, good chance to avenge the demons of Qatar 2022. Moving on to the final game of day 4, Austria versus France. Perhaps the best game of the first round of matches, potentially, Sam?
Yeah, I think I'm having that. Yeah, I reckon so. But as a bettor, I'm scared of backing against France. But if you look at the prices, it's probably what you should be doing if you're going off just prices. This is an Austria side who is pretty good, and I feel like they're going to pull up some trees in Germany. They should qualify from their group if they can get one over on Poland, and I wouldn't be overly surprised to see them worry the Dutch in their meeting with them. You've got Ralf Rangnick in charge now. It's a name that probably might send shudders for any Manchester United fan listening, but he was the perfect appointment, I think, for this Austrian national side. He's been involved in the Red Bull system for a number of years. He's come across a lot of these players, and they are fully aware and content with playing that brand of football, that front-footed pressing football that Rangnick has made a career out of over in Austria and Germany. They'll be one of the nations with the clearest identities in Germany this summer. It's an Austrian setup that has a club feel and identity to it. And that's so difficult to do, so difficult to achieve when you've only got a few weeks together every 4 or 5 months. And Rangnick won 6 of the 8 qualifiers, or Austria won 6 of the 8 qualifiers and finished behind Belgium to get here, and should not be taken lightly in this group stage, especially by France, who I feel can often be found wanting in the early stages of a tournament. The major concern, Dan, for Austria has to be that they're missing personnel. David Alaba, the standout, their best player, their captain, but also Javier Schlager in the centre of midfield. They're a little light up top as well, and I won't be taking the bet because I'm scared, because I'm a bit of a bit of a coward. But the Austria +1 is where I've kind of ended up looking, because I think they're going to cause some problems, like I said. But it is France, and yeah, don't feel fully confident in siding against them, to be honest.
Do you want me to trust you to help you trust your convictions? Do you want me to help you trust your convictions here, Sam?
I do. Please go on.
Okay, so kind of emphasizing that club mentality. David Alaba's going to be there as like a coach, isn't he?
Cheerleader, yeah.
Cheerleader, yeah. He's head cheerleader. He's taking the Beckham role. When was that, like 2010 or something? He's going as a coach. He's going to stand on the sidelines with a suit, looking fantastic. So that kind of shows the club mentality, as you said, that Austria have. But if you're looking at opposing France in the Asian handicap market, since 2000, France have been the second worst nation to back in the Asian handicap market.
Second
Germany.
worst.
Germany have been the worst. France have been the second worst. In only one tournament, France have been profitable to back on the Asian handicap market in every game, which was 2016. And it would have brought in a grand total of plus 0.09 units across their matches. The bookmakers do kind of overrate them a little bit. So 28 matches, they've won the Asian handicap line on 11 of 28, lost in 17 of 28. It's not bad. It's plus a whole goal, money back if France win exactly 1-0, which you get the feeling they'd probably take. As you say, like, teams going to be conserving their energy for perhaps tougher matches next week. As we said, Netherlands were conserving energy against Poland. France are going to be doing the same. They've got to play the Netherlands next week as well. So You get the feeling France get a 1-0, they take it. Austria may even take it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the thing is, Dan, I can see France winning by 1 goal. For me, that's probably the most likely outcome. So, yeah, to just be getting our money back with the risk of France potentially clicking into gear straight away, and they've got such a good squad. We know how good they can be. So with that risk there as well, and the likelihood that we'll just get our money back, I just wasn't overly convinced. And I don't know if you've done enough to convince me, to be honest. But that's fine. You can take it. I'm going to sit out.
No, I'm too scared as well. I'm not taking it. I'm just trying to get you to do it.
But if it comes in, we can say, look, we said it. So it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Best of both worlds. Yeah, just sitting on the fence. So final day 5, Tuesday, June 18th. Just 2 games today as we catch up. So first match, evening game, Turkey versus Georgia. And now, do you remember the last Euros? Do you remember the Turkey dark horse shouts in the last Euros?
Yes, I do, yeah. I was probably one of the ones peddling that.
I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to bring it up and say that I was one of the people who backed Turkey at the last Euros. I looked at their qualifying form. I did not look at their recent form going into the tournament. It was a mistake. I can only apologize. And I think quite a few people who were on Turkey are kind of on Georgia now, or they're on Hungary now. They're on a couple of these 2 teams. So is this the dark horse derby?
It feels like it, yeah. Yeah, it feels like it. And to be honest, Dan, this group on the first day I have no idea for either game. We've got Turkey versus Georgia. We've got Portugal versus Czech Republic coming up next. And for these 2, I don't really have a handle on either team, and I've got no idea what they're going to serve up at the tournament. I've seen a few anti-post positions liking the thought of Turkey maybe progressing from the group. I think they'll do well to qualify. In terms of Georgia, they've got the players to cause Turkey problems. Obviously, Kvaratskhelia and Mikadze up top. I don't know if they'll be looking to keep it really tight and go from there like they did in their final qualifying game, or they'll be looking to maybe hurt Turkey a bit more regularly than that, because Turkey can really be got at, and we've seen that in recent games. So I just don't really know, to be honest, Dan. I don't like Turkey at 1.75. I wouldn't touch that. Georgia at 4.75 is intriguing, but like I said, how they'll transition to major tournament football under a coach who is obviously decent but hasn't been there and done it. There's just a lot of question marks for me. And the bookmakers like this to go under 2.5 goals, so you'd have to take the 2.25 goal line if you're fancying unders, which probably seems like a fair shout, but there's just not enough for me to get excited about. So I'm keen to sit this one out and then maybe get out this group in the second round.
Yeah, if I was to wade into it, I think I would probably be on the Georgia plus 0.75. I think it's one of those games where the bookies don't really have much to base the contest on. I mean, these sides haven't played each other for 12 years. I don't know if they warrant the plus 0.7 or the 0.75 handicap for the game. Looking at the warm-ups, obviously you can't read too much into friendlies, but just looking at the warm-ups, Turkey have lost 3 of their last 4 friendly matches in 2024. They lost to Hungary, fair enough. They lost 6-1 to Austria, and most recently they lost 2-1 to Poland. If you're conceding twice to Poland, what are you doing? Like,
it's not good, is it? No.
What are you doing? Georgia done all right, got a couple of wins. They haven't played the best teams, but I don't know. I quite like them. It's a big unknown, but I think that's what I like about this contest is that it's such a big unknown. But the bookies have really they've leaned into Turkey, haven't they, with that 0.75 goal line.
It's a massive unknown, and that's a plus for bettors because, you know, the bookmakers are maybe at 6s and 7s. They're not too sure. But it's also hard for us as well. So that's why maybe the best advice is to sit a few games like this out and just wait for the next one. But yeah, for me, not too sure. So I'm not going to sit here and claim I have any confidence over any market because I definitely don't.
Yeah. And I think we can probably say the same thing about Portugal versus the Czech Republic. In the last game, Portugal are favourites, -1 handicap, goal lines at 2.75, which, I don't know, feels a little bit big.
Yeah, it does. The bookies are obviously playing it safe. If you're going to offer Portugal at maybe 4 to 5 or evens, then I'm sure, you know, people will be rushing to take them. But similarly to England at 1.50, just can't have Portugal at that price in an opening game of the tournament. It makes the Czechs an interesting proposition at 6.5, Dan, but and I believe they are fairly interesting at that price. But overcoming this Portugal side in the first game isn't exactly easy pickings. So I'm swerving the 1x2 and Czechs on a +1 Asian handicap at just shy of even money is a possibility. But again, who would be overly surprised if this Portugal side turns up in Germany, it clicks, and then they absolutely fly through the group stages? They're 4th favourites to be the highest scoring team at the Euros this summer. So we should remember that there's a reason why they're right up there. It's because they're stacked in forward areas and they've got individual quality and abundance along that forward line. They've got the depth to bring players like Diogo Jota, Rafael Leao on against weary legs who can really, really change your game. So I'm scared again to side against Portugal. But if I was going to, I suppose maybe the Czechs on a +1 Asian handicap. But I think again, maybe the most likely or one of the most likely outcomes is that Portugal win by 1 and then you just get your money back. So yeah, maybe sit this one out as well.
Yeah, same sort of situation to the France game, maybe. Portugal had a flawless qualification campaign, 10 wins from 10, scored 36 goals, kept 9 clean sheets in those 10 matches. It was not a good group, I will say. When Luxembourg are finishing 3rd in a group of 6 teams,
yeah,
summons up. But yeah, as you say, they've got an unbelievable squad, Portugal. And I think player for player, they are right up there with the best squads in the tournament. But yeah, I think this looks about fair. It's hard to get in. It's a bit of a coin toss for the Asian handicap lines. I think they've got it spot on.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I'll be staying clear. Anyway, that wraps it up for the days. It's 5 days. Obviously, it's going to be 4 days for the next set of group games, which we'll be getting out in our next set of pods. Just to recap Sam's bets. Pull up a chair. It's going to be a long one. Sam, just jump in with the staking for each of these, please.
Yep.
Cool. So, day 1, Germany versus Scotland. Sam's gone for second half most goals at 2.05.
We're going to have 1 unit on that.
1 unit on that. Day 2, Sam's gone for second half most goals again, this time in Hungary versus Switzerland.
We'll have 1 unit on that as well.
1 unit on that. Second game, Spain versus Croatia, the 5 p.m. Spain win at 1.90.
So I think that's priced about right, so I'm going to leave that one down.
Not tracked, okay. Next, Italy versus Albania. Sam's gone for under 2.5 goals at 1.91.
Yeah, I think I'm having that. 1 unit.
full unit on that. Day 3, Sunday, June 16th. First game, Poland versus Netherlands. Sam's got Netherlands win and under 4.5 goals.
1 unit on that.
1 unit. Nothing on Slovenia versus Denmark. Nothing on Serbia versus England. 5th tip, Romania versus Ukraine on Monday, June 17th. He's gone for Dovbyk anytime. Is that tracked?
I won't be tracking that. No, we'll leave that.
Leave that one out. 6th tip, Belgium versus Slovakia in the 5 p.m. game that day. Lukaku anytime scorer on that.
We'll leave that as well, I think. It's going to be maybe the same story for...
Yeah, Austria versus France, Austria +1, not on it. Yeah, don't blame me. And then day 5, no bets for Turkey versus Georgia or for Portugal versus the Czech Republic. Mm-hmm. So what's that, 3 tracked?
I think it was 4, wasn't it? We got Germany, Scotland, Hungary, Switzerland,
3, 4,
Italy, and Poland.
4 track bets. Fair enough.
So 4 out of 12. Yeah, I just like to stress really that these first round games are really, really tough to get your head around and get involved with in terms of like a betting perspective. So 4 out of 12 for me, that's more than enough. And yeah, if you need to sit out a few of the games, then don't feel like you have to bet on more because it's difficult. It's really difficult. So
I feel like there are going to be, I haven't got the stats, but I feel like there's going to be more money laid on these first set of fixtures than there are on rounds 2 or 3. Whereas it should probably be the other way around. People are just excited.
Yeah, exactly. People are excited. They're absolutely buzzing for the Euros to be here. And it feels like time's massively dragged since the end of domestic football to the Euros. And obviously the first markets, the first games, they've been up for a lot longer than the rest. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of money laid down and it's really tough. So we'll see.
Yeah. Just sit. If you're not feeling it, and go for something in games 2 or 3 of the group stage or even into the knockouts. So we'll leave it there. If you are going to be using any of the bets from this show, then please gamble responsibly only, betting what you can afford to lose. Thank you as ever to Sam Ingram.
Thank you very much.
And thank you from me. We'll be back next week.